Our last class ended with the structure of embryo sac or the female gametophyte. So let's look at the structure of the embryo sac once again. So it is a haploid structure with the haploid cells. Its shape is oval and a multicellular structure embedded in the nucellus of ovule. So this particular structure, it is found inside the ovule. So it is generally called as the monosporic type because only one functional megaspore develops the whole embryo sac. So this type of development of the megaspore, it is called as monosporic. After the development of the megaspore, it becomes an 8 nucleated structure, and this 8 nucleated structure, when they get arranged within the embryo sac, it forms a 7-cell structure where the micropylar end, it bears the egg apparatus, which bears 2 synergid cell and 1 egg cell, which are all haploid in numbers. Then towards the collageal end bears the antipodal cells. So there are 3 antipodal cells towards the collageal end, which are vegetative cell, and later they get degenerated. And the center of the embryo sac, it bears 2 polar nuclei, and these 2 polar nuclei, they fuse with each other and becomes the secondary nucleus, or it is also called as the central cell or sometimes diploid polar nuclei. So this is all about the structure of embryo sac. Till now we have completed the sporogenesis and the gametogenesis processes in a flowering plant. Now let's come to a new topic which is very much required for the flowering plant to complete their process of reproduction. So from the picture, now all of you might have come to know what I want to talk about. So this is a picture that we can see in every flower during its flowering time. This is a process which every flower undergoes for the purpose of pollination. So today we are going to discuss about pollination. Pollination simply means the transfer of pollen grains from the anther of a flower to the stigma of the same or another flower of the same or allied species through various agencies. So this whole transfer of the pollen grain, as we know that the pollen grain, they are formed inside the anther in the microsporangia, and during the time of fertilization they dehisces out of the anther, and with various agencies such as insects, water, wind, etc., they come and fall on the stigma of either the same flower or of another flower, either of the same species or different species. And this whole process of transfer of the pollen grains to its destination, that is the stigma, is called as pollination. So this whole process, it helps in the fertilization of the flowering plants. Now let's discuss about the types of pollination. There are broadly 2 types of pollination: self-pollination and cross-pollination. Self-pollination, it is also called as autogamy, and cross-pollination, it is also called as allogamy or genogamy. So let's discuss these 2 types of pollination along with their differences. So the word self-pollination, it means that the transfer of pollen grains, it takes place within the same flower. That is, from the anther, the pollen grains, they are liberated from the anther and they comes and fall on the stigma of the same flower, or sometimes genetically similar flower of the same plant. So this type of pollination, it is called as self-pollination. Whereas cross-pollination, as the word itself says, cross, different. So the cross-pollination, it means the transfer of pollen grains from the anther of one flower to the stigma of genetically different flower. So here the pollen grains, they are transferred to the individuals of the same species, but they will be genetically different, or they will be present in a different plant body. So such type of pollination, it is called as cross pollination. In both the cases, the pollen grains, they are getting transferred from the anther to the stigma, but in one it is taking place within the same flower, and in case of cross pollination, it is taking place in two different flowers of two different plants which are genetically different. Now let's come to the second difference between cross pollination and self pollination. Self pollination, it is generally seen to occur in case of bisexual flower. That means those flower which have the androecium and gynoecium in the same flower, and sometimes it is seen in case of unisexual flowers. But cross pollination, it can be seen in both unisexual as well as bisexual flowers. In case of cross pollination, external agencies are not required. So as the pollination, it is taking place within the same flower, so no external agencies such as wind, insect, water is required in case of self-pollination. And in case of cross-pollination, external agencies such as wind, water, insect, animals, etc. are required. In case of self-pollination, both anther and stigmas mature simultaneously. So this is a common process that is found in case of self-pollinated flower, where the maturation time of both the anther and the stigma, that means the process of formation of the microsporogenesis or development of male gametophyte, and megasporogenesis and development of female gametophyte, that takes place together within the flower. But in case of cross-pollinated flower, so here their time, it can be different, so they may get matured at different times. And the next major difference between the self-pollinated and the cross-pollinated flower is that in case of self-pollinated flower, no variations can be seen, because here the genetic exchanges takes place within the same flower, which generally bears the same type of characters or genes. Therefore no variation occurs, as there is no genetic exchange between any other species, and it takes place within the same flower. The genetic exchange takes place within the same flower. Whereas in case of cross-pollinated flower, so there, as genetic exchange takes place between two genetically different plant, as for example, one can be weak and the other can be a stronger one. So definitely in case of that, in case of cross pollination, we can see variation, and the variation, it brings good characters to the plant body. So this is all about the types of self pollination, the types of pollination, that is self pollination and cross pollination, and the difference between self pollination and cross pollination. Now let's discuss about the mechanism of self-pollination, or this we can say as the types of self-pollination or adaptations that a self-pollinated flower bears. As we know that a self-pollination, it takes place in case of bisexual flower. Therefore, we can see two types of processes in this self-pollinated flower. One is autogamy. and the other one is called as gametogamy. Autogamy, here the self-pollination, it takes place within the same flower, and it is again divided into three types. One is homogamy, the another one is called as cleistogamy, and the third type it is called as birth pollination. In case of homogamy, there the pollination, it occurs in an open flower. An open flower is called this chesmogamous flower. Here the anthers and the stigmas, they mature at the same time, and the flower gets its the flower is pollinated after its opening, and such type of flower it is called as homogamy, or it undergoes homogamy. Now here the flower, it adopts different kind of mechanism. Say for example, so here the growth of the pollen, the growth of the anther, it takes place, or the length of the filament, it increases in size to reach the stigma, or the gynoecium or the style, it bends to the anther. So this kind of mechanism can be seen in case of homogamous flower in self-pollination. Now next comes cleistogamy. So cleistogamy, here the pollination, it takes place in closed flower. That means before anthesis takes place, within the flower, pollination already takes place. So when pollination takes place in a closed flower, it is called as cleistogamy, and such kind of flowers are called as cleistogamous flower. And the third type, it is called as bud pollination. So in case of bud pollination, the anther and the stigma, they get mature, and the dehiscence of the anther, it takes place before the bud, it develops into flower. That means pollination takes place right at its budding stage, and such type of pollination in case of self-pollination is called as bud pollination. So this we can see in case of pea, rice, wheat, etc. Now let's come to the next mechanism of self-pollination. So this is called as gametogamy. So gametogamy, here it is a type of self-pollination which takes place between the flowers of the same plant, but here the pollination does not takes place in the same flower. Therefore it is said that it is the transfer of the pollen grains of one flower to the stigma of another flower of the same plant. That means two flowers are involved from the same plant in case of gametogamy. So this is also self-pollination. Now let's discuss about the advantages of self-pollination. So the first advantage that we get from self-pollination is that it maintains the parental characters or purity of the gametes within the plant body. As there is no genetic exchange with the other plants, therefore it is easy to maintain the parental characters in a plant body. So therefore this is one of the important advantages of self-pollination. The next advantage is that self-pollination is used to maintain pure lines for hybridization experiment. In case of hybridization, as we know that two different plants, they are crossed with each other, and the hybrid individuals, if we need to study them, then it is very much essential to study or to maintain their pure lines. So in that case, the hybrid individuals are self-pollinated. So in that case, self-pollination, it helps in case of hybridization experiment to maintain the pure lines. Then comes the next advantage, that is that the plant does not need to produce large number of pollen grain, as the pollen grains, they are transferred within the same flower by lengthening of the filament of the anther or bending of the style of the gynoecium. So they do not need to produce large number of pollen grain, and so much energy is not required for self-pollination. So this is another advantage of self-pollination. Then comes the next one, that is the flowers, they do not need to develop any kind of devices to attract the insects. So this is the other advantage of the self-pollinated flower, that to attract insect pollinators no devices are required. And the last advantage of self-pollination is that it ensures seed production, as fertilization is going to take place and fertilization will bring about the production of seed or the post fertilization change development. Therefore it it ensures the production of seed. Now let's come to the disadvantages of self-pollination. The disadvantages of self-pollination are: new characters are not introduced, as there is no genetic exchange in between genetically different plant, and as the genetic exchange takes place between the same flower, so new characters cannot be introduced into the plant body, and therefore no variation is found in case of self-pollinated plants or self-pollinated flowers. Then the next disadvantage is that vigor and vitality decreases with prolonged self-pollination. If a plant body undergoes self-pollination for a longer period of time, then their quality it gradually decreases. Say for example, the size of the fruit, the shape of the flower, the taste of the fruit. So all these qualities or characters that are seen to degrade. And lastly, since there is no variation, therefore their adaptability to changed environment that are also reduced. That means they cannot adapt well to any kind of changing environment, and they are very prone to any kind of disease, flood, and they cannot reduce themselves. So this is all for this class. Thank you.